Sassy family, thank you so much for joining me here on my channel today. Today I am very excited. I am finally going to be doing my own personal review of the Pastel Goth palette from Kat Von D. Now I originally got this palette on the kind of like secret release of this on the KVD website, and I got it, and I was originally going to do a review of this of the day that I got it. I was going to play around with it for a minute, swatch it, and then give my review, and I decided after doing that I wanted to give it a little bit more time, because at first this palette can be a little bit confusing, and I think that with just some time really learning how to work with these shadows and play with them, it can really pay off in the end. I absolutely love this palette, and I can't wait to dive into this review. So let's get started. First off, this palette and all other makeups that come from Kat Von D is cruelty-free, and this particular palette happens to be all vegan. So that is a bonus, a plus, a heck yes. Now with this palette, you get 8 new shadows from Kat Von D, and they are all said to be pastel. Now when this palette first launched, I think there was a little bit of confusion to the colors. Being called a pastel palette or a Pastel Goth palette, I think that people were kind of a little bit confused because these shadows don't seem to be really all that pastel. But on Kat Von D's benefit, like what I saw from this palette was pastels. Not in the sense that you're thinking with like Eastery colors, the light, really pale stuff. I was thinking pastels artistically. And for me, I took away that the inspiration for this pastel palette was actual pastel crayons. If you look, like here's an example of some pastel shades, and then here is an example of pastel shades like artistic wise, like the medium pastels. So for someone like me who does have a history with art and artsy fartsy things, I totally got this palette right off the bat, and I was super excited for it and super excited for the color range. So if you're buying this palette and expecting some really pale color ranges, do not purchase this. You will be disappointed. You right off the bat, you're going to be like, this sucks, because these are not that type of pastel. At least in my opinion, what I'm taking away from this, these are pastels and as in the medium that you draw with, not pastels in like the Eastery colors. Okay. So with that in mind, you get 8 new shades. The palette itself is absolutely gorgeous. The packaging, Kat Von D, time and time again, just knocks the packaging out of the park. The artwork that goes onto it, I know that Kat Von D did hand draw all of these letters. She designs this all herself. I think this is so stinking cute. Like this may be my favorite packaging wise from Kat Von D. I just love how this looks. I think it looks so cool. And you of course get a nice hefty mirror, and it's not cheap. She has the nice like thick heavy duty mirror in here, and it's got like paint drips, and it says Kat Von D in it, and it's all finger smudgy because I'm a wild woman. And overall, the packaging is just fantastic. It feels sturdy, it feels nice and hefty and expensive, and I love the feel of a nice like hefty palette. So packaging, 10 out of 10 for me, and let's dive in now to the actual colors themselves. So for the swatching of these colors, I am going to be doing 1 finger swatch and 1 brush swatch. I will not be laying down a primer, although if you really want to see what these pigments are going to be on the lid or true to the pigment in the palette, then I would suggest using some sort of base or a white base just to make those colors really pop and sing and show their true pigments. Kat Von D herself said in the Sephora video that she did showing this new palette off and doing a makeup look for it, that she really highly suggests using a white base, and that way you can really see the true pigment of these. So keeping that in mind, but I am going to do 1 brush swatch and 1 finger swatch, and we're gonna go through these colors now. So the first shadow we're going to be talking about is Star. This is this vibrant, gorgeous yellow. This is definitely one of my favorite shades from the palette. I have 3 standout favorites from this, and this is definitely one of them. The pigment in this is absolutely amazing. It is blendable. It doesn't feel chalky. It is a very just bright and vibrant, and it definitely draws some attention. Honestly, I really love this shade. It is so blendable, so pigmented, and so Oh, I love this shadow. Next up, next to it, we have Clementine, which is my second other favorite shade from this palette. This is a bright, vibrant, peachy orange, and it is just, oh, it is definitely, it's my second favorite from the palette. It feels really nice. It has a really nice slip. Both of these shadows, the first two, Star and Clementine, neither one of them have much fallout, at all. They don't have a whole ton of kickback either, which I notoriously with Kat Von D have had trouble with kickback from these shadows. But I really, really love the blendability and just the rich pigment from these two shades. Clementine is another home run for me. I really, really enjoy this shade, and I can't wait to just use and abuse it. Now we come to the shade Meow, which actually is my biggest letdown from this palette. It's no shocker that Kat Von D has in the past had troubles with purples. I think almost all brands kind of struggle a little bit when it comes to formulating a purple shadow. This one isn't necessarily a purple per se, but it's not a pink either. It's almost just kind of like this really muted fuchsia, like dumbed down fuchsia. I wasn't impressed with the shadow. I don't like the blendability. I think it's slightly patchy. Out of all of them, I would say this one has the weirdest texture. I'm not impressed with this shadow at all. This color for me just didn't do it. It's slightly patchy. It doesn't have that slip. It doesn't have that really creamy, like almost rich feel to it. I'm not impressed. I have used it. I do have it on today as like a transition shade, and it's just okay. It's not, I don't know. It's my least favorite from the palette by far, and I really wish I liked it more. I can't get on the train with the Meow, okay? Next up, we have Dope, which is my favorite shade from this palette. I absolutely adore this shadow. It is so creamy and so blendable and so pigmented. I had absolutely zero trouble being able to build up color and really get that pigment to sing on my lid. I didn't even need to use a white base. It almost looked like fluorescent as I was packing it on. That is what I have over the majority of my eye today. It is just so beautiful. It's so creamy and blendable, and just, I don't know what it is about this shadow. I absolutely love it. Dope is almost like a periwinkle lavender color, but it's really just the most gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. I really can't get enough of the shadow. I really, truly love this shadow. Love it. New favorite. Love. Next up, we have Doom. This is a bright, vibrant sky blue color. It is very, very pigmented. I would say even these two, Dope and Doom, are like the most pigmented from the palette. They just sing and speak to me. I really like Doom. The only reason why it isn't one of my favorites is because it's not a shade I would normally reach for. I'm not a big blue person. I'm not a fan of wearing blue on my lids. I always feel like I look like Mimi from Drew Carey. Like, it's just not a good situation for me to be in, okay? So I don't normally wear blue, I just don't like to wear it. But Doom is a really beautiful color. It blends out perfectly, it's nice and vibrant, and the slip is really nice. It feels nice and luxurious and just, ugh, so rich. Moving right along, we're going to Gloom, and this is one of the shadows from the palette. Again, I will never reach for this shadow. It's just not something I will reach for. The color is really nice. It's a really light, pale, almost Kelly green. It is a green, if you know what I mean. It's just muted slightly, so it's in that pastel range. Like, I feel like out of all of these, the best representation of a pastel, as in the art medium, would be Gloom. It's just not a color I would reach for. I found this shade to be slightly patchy. It does seem like the texture and everything feels the same as the other really nice ones from the palette, but it just doesn't perform as well. And this one, out of all of these, I will say, by the way, Doom and Gloom had the most kickback. I didn't like that. They had the most kickback and also the most fallout. Not impressed with that at all, but they're not things that ruin it for me at all. So moving on, we are going to Dagger, which is this awesome gray. This is like a true gray to me. This was one of the smartest choices, I think, for this palette. Instead of throwing a black and a white on the end like I see so many other palettes doing when they have this kind of color range in them, she threw in this nice true gray that blends amazing. I really love this shadow. I feel like I can't name it as one of my favorites because A, I'm not going to use it all the time, and B, why would I pick my favorite to be the muted, boring color when I have all these vibrant, gorgeous colors in front of me? But this gray is just so blendable, so rich, so pigmented. I am in love with it. I used it on my outer corner just to kind of smoke and things, like smoky it all up. It's just, I really love this shadow. Oh, it's gorgeous. It just is. It's good. And lastly, we have Skull, which Kat Von D, hands down, every time knocks her whites out of the park. Skull is like many of her other whites. It is so finely milled and just feels so luxurious. It's so incredibly pigmented. It's one swipe pigment. You don't need more than that. It feels like it's literally just melting onto your skin. It's fantastic. I always have loved all of Kat Von D's white or cream white shadows. She knocks them out of the park every time. So for me, Skull is an A++, of course, but I can't name it one of my favorites because I have 500 other whites from her, so I can't be like, hey, this one's my favorite. No, I've got gorgeous colors in this palette and I need to choose them. So out of all of the colors in this palette though, I would say Star, Clementine, and Dope are definitely my favorite. These three, and if I liked blue, this would be there too because it is such a gorgeous shade. I just hate blues. I know that Kat Von D had said, I think these were like milled 4 times, which just means they're gonna be really fine and really have that nice slip so they blend really easily. I would say that about some of the shadows from this palette, but maybe the other ones got skipped a little, I don't know. I did notice in some shots or pictures the lighting was changed so that they did look more pastel, and I feel like that's false advertisement. I don't like that either, but I think that there was enough like true pictures of the pigments out there for people to really see what they were going to be getting. And I'm not at all disappointed in what... This is like the 6th time today the power's gone out. So I'm just going to finish up my review with no electricity because you were gonna do that. So I look like this. There's no great lighting or anything like that. So we're just gonna keep on rolling. Times with Kat Von D palettes, I noticed if I was to use Kat Von D's shadows like I would any other shadow, where I would literally just go swipe, and then put it on my lid, sometimes that doesn't work. I think with how finely milled sometimes, I'm not trying to like make excuses or whatever, but sometimes if you put your brush in, and this is just like a simple trick, this little educational purposes. Sometimes with shadows like this, and especially when you're dealing with lighter shades and more finely milled shades, it's easier if you take your brush and press it into it and then lightly rock it back and forth. So you collect pigment up into the brush. So you're getting that pigment throughout the brush so that as you're swiping, you're not just getting that pigment from the top layer of the brush. This looks awful. See, in person it looks great. It's because I don't have my ring light on, but sorry about the swatch here, but you have the better swatch. You see. And make sure you're packing it on, not swiping. That can also help. And like they said, if you want to really get the true pigment from these, you want to use a white eyeshadow base, which is no big deal. I use an eyeshadow base for 90% of my makeup looks, so adding an eyeshadow base really, it doesn't bother me personally at all. Overall, honestly, I would hands down recommend you getting your hands on this so long as it's still available. I believe it is still available, but this is limited edition, and this is definitely one to have in your collection. Even if you're not someone who likes crazy wild colors or doing a lot of like rainbow-y colored looks, things like that, this is just nice to have in your collection so that if you do want one of those shades, you can grab for it. These are really good shadows. All except for, I would say, even with Gloom, with the issues I have with it, it's still a good shadow and you can build it up very easily and it looks very nice. Just for me, Meow, maybe I got a dud or something. Maybe mine was, you know, the consistency of these palettes isn't great and this one was just a dud. I just really didn't like this. I was really surprised that I liked Dope though, because Kat Von D notoriously has not had great purple shadows, or at least in my opinion, I have not seen a lot of great purple shadows from Kat Von D. So having Dope be the most amazing shadow from the palette for me was pretty awesome, but I was just really disappointed with Meow. That's the only, I actually, like, if you took this out of the palette, I'd be happy, because I would rather have none of it than all of it. So my final call on this palette is an absolute 10 out of 10 yes. I absolutely love this palette. I would repurchase it if it wasn't limited edition, and I couldn't, but I would definitely recommend this to anybody I know that really likes these colors, and even if you don't, just to have something fun to play around with from time to time. This is a absolute home run palette for me. In fact, this is probably my favorite. No, I don't want to say it's my favorite, but it's pretty close to being my favorite palette to come from Kat Von D, and could be my favorite palette thus far. Okay, so I really hope that you guys enjoyed this. I'm so sorry that my power went out in the last part of this video. Probably seemed really weird. I'm so sorry, but I do want to get this video out to you guys so you can get some opinions on this and whether maybe you want to purchase it or not. I don't know. And don't forget, while you're here, if you did like this video at any point in time, hit that thumbs up button. It helps me out greatly. It helps us reach more so we can grow our Foxy family. And if you have not yet subscribed, please do so now. Not because I asked, but because you wanted to, because maybe you were like, huh, this girl seems crazy. Ooh, I'm crazy too. Ooh, we can all be crazy together and hold hands and get married. As always, you guys, I love you so stinking much. You have no freaking clue. I just love you. And I can't wait to see you guys in my very next video. All right, thank you so much for watching. I love you. I love you. I love you. Well, okay, bye.